Welcome, folks, to an all-new Phillies Nation presented by BQ Basement Systems. We are at the Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall. Corey Simon and Pat Gallen, and we are joined by two special guests that know the Phillies very, very well. We've got Kevin Cooney from the Bucks County Courier Times and Ryan Lawrence from the Philadelphia Daily News. Thanks, guys.
No problem.
Well, let's start it off with Chase Utley, who has been hovering around the 100 mark basically all year. Actually hit his first double over the weekend, which seems pretty insane. But Kevin, talk about his ability to maybe salvage this season, and then moving forward, I don't know if the Phillies will be able to trade him. Right now, his value is pretty low, but talk about the ability to do that this year.
I think the one thing that you look at with Utley is, yeah, he has kind of hit in the ridiculous luck. I mean, his batting average with balls in play, it was obscenely low, in the zeros heading into the weekend. But I think that the one thing you kind of see is the line drive swing has been really kind of lacking in a lot of cases. He's not making flush contact. His power numbers have been declining anyway, for the last couple of years. So what's salvageable? 230, 240. I mean, I think he could get there, but at this point, I think expecting him to be Chase Utley of even the 2 months from the beginning of last year is a little bit extreme.
Well, speaking of last year, as we all know, this slump didn't just start in April. It began basically Memorial Day last year. I think he's hitting around 200, 215 since then. So this is kind of problematic if you're looking to trade Utley, but I really don't see Utley being moved anyway. He's, like Rollins has said all along, even though Rollins eventually did get traded, he doesn't want to go anywhere, and he has a full no trade clause. And then he has the contract that's very problematic. He can get $15 million, I think, in each of the next 3 years if he racks up plate appearances. And if you're a team, do you want to take on that risk?
And like Ryan said, mentioning the 215 batting average in the last 560 plate appearances for Utley, so it's not like this just popped up this year. And the slugging percentage also very low, hovering right around 300. When I look at Chase Utley, though, and what I'm seeing right now, Ryan Sandberg keeps mentioning that Utley is stinging the ball, and to a certain extent that's true, but we've seen the power just continue to decline and decline and decline. And when you ask, is he finished, what could be salvageable? Well, last year he hit 270. To hit 270 this year, all he needs to do is hit 308 the rest of the way, which isn't crazy. It's not unforeseen or completely far-fetched that Utley could hit 308. So is he finished? No, only because the second base landscape is so weak that, if he is willing to waive that no-trade clause, I think there would be genuine interest. A team like the Padres sticks out.
No doubt. Let's talk about the contract situation. You mentioned that, Ryan. Is there any way the Phillies, knowing what he's done this year and knowing what the future probably will hold for him, would they hold him out so that he doesn't hit that level? It's 500 plate appearances he needs to hit for that contract to vest.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem there is you run into grievances with the Players Association. And, I don't think, again, what's the alternative if you don't start Utley? I mean, you could make a case that Cesar Hernandez could be a guy like Freddie Galvis, that if he actually played regularly, maybe you could see some offense from him. But, I mean, as long as Chase Utley is still in this uniform, it's hard to see them putting someone else out there at second base.
Plus, it's about respect. A lot of what, Utley has given to this organization, there is a certain level of respect. Now, what do you do? Business-wise, I think getting the 500 plate appearances would be an absolute wrong move. It would tie up more salary. It would not allow the club to move forward. But is Cesar Hernandez really a better option in second base? I don't think so.
And Cesar Hernandez batted 5th on Saturday, so when you look at the context of this team, it makes way more sense to just keep playing Utley.
No doubt, no doubt. How about Ryan Howard, who has salvaged his season after a rough start? I don't know if there's any value for him yet right now, but that could change if he continues this hot pace that he's on. Kev, talk about maybe the possibility of trading him later this year.
See, I think we're about 3 or 4 more hot weeks away from Howard being really movable, and especially for a team like the Orioles or the Mariners, teams that really need that designated hitter, middle of the lineup kind of power. Baltimore maybe not as much, but because they have Adam Jones there. But I think the Howard would fit a hole for them at this point. They just need to have a little more established before you really see the market develop. Of course, Phillies are going to still have to take a lot of the price tag.
And that's a big part of it, too, is that how much of that price tag are they willing to eat? I mean, there have been different reports about how much. I heard in spring training that report that they were willing to take 50 of the 60 left was untrue. So, that's a huge part of this whole thing. If they're not willing to take on a lot of that salary, I don't think he's movable at all.
Plus the number comes down, too. I mean, if you look at it, because of the service time.
But really, at a certain point, if you're eating $50 to $52 million of a $60 million contract, what is that doing for you at the end of the day? You're saving a little bit of money there in the grand scheme of things, but you're still paying a ton of money for a guy not on your roster. I will say, though, that Ryan Howard is off to exactly the type of start the Phillies needed. Struggled the first few weeks, but his OPS right now is the highest it's been since May 3rd of 2014. So he's finally on that 1 week hot streak the Phillies need him to be on, like Kev mentioned, just needs about 5 to 10 more games of that to really have the suitors come calling.
And I think with the money, too, if they had someone at Double or AAA that was sort of knocking on the door, it would make it a little easier to swallow that. But obviously, they're not
Franco
looking to
was
do
Chris
that.
Bryant, then we could say
Exactly.
that, but Franco's probably not Chris Bryant.
Well, what would represent a quality season for Ryan Howard? He's sort of pacing himself toward, not the Ryan Howard of old, but certainly a better version of what he was the last 2 seasons. So what do you guys see as quality for him?
I would say, I think a couple years ago, I think it would maybe been right after he came back from the Achilles, I think his OPS was around 780. I think he had 11 home runs and had 20 doubles in 80 games. So if you do that over a course of 162 games, if you're hitting somewhere between 20 and 30 home runs and you hit, 20 to 40 doubles and your OPS is somewhere above 780, I mean, again, we're not talking about Ryan Howard 2009,
Right.
so if you can get something acceptable like that, that's not terrible.
Well, and I know on one point this weekend he was on a 32 home run pace. I mean, so I don't think he'll be at that. 25 homers, maybe 90 to 95 RBIs. With the way this lineup is in front of it, it might be tough to get to that number. But I think if you look at that, that would be acceptable. And that would probably be something that even if you don't trade him at the deadline this year, would maybe get some people a little more interested, as long as he has like 240, 250.
I'd say 25 bombs, 240 batting average, and like a 320-ish on base percentage. The last few years, Ryan Howard has a 305 OBP. That's just way too low for a middle-of-the-order bat.
All right, another guy that does his job. He always does his job. That's Jonathan Papelbon, yet it seems like no one likes the guy. We're talking about trades possibly with Utley, possibly with Howard. Here's another guy that is definitely movable if he continues at the pace that he's at. What are the odds of that?
I think the odds are probably better of that than any of the other ones we've mentioned here, except Cole Hamels will probably go at some point. But I mean, if you look at it, there are so many teams that need a closer.
Yes.
And you look at the Tigers, you look at
The Blue Jays, the Indians.
Yeah, I mean, there are teams that are in contention that need a closer. And Papelbon has actually shown himself, at least with teammates, to be a good clubhouse guy. I mean, look, he's never going to be a Saint.
It's kind of funny when you say it, but I know what you're saying.
Tell me about it. You think it's funny to say for you guys. It's funny coming out of mine. But he's been good with the young guys in the bullpen. I think the question is, will teams still view him as a headache? And again, how much of the contract are the Phillies going to be willing to eat?
I don't think opposing teams are worried at all about the personality, because you throw him into a winning mix, and I think the good Jonathan Papelbon comes through, not the guy that's complaining about, I didn't come here for this. No, I came here for this exactly, to be a part of a contender. And I think he's undoubtedly the easiest Philly to move, because like Hamels, he's still producing. And unlike Hamels, his contract is, there's not a whole, it's a lot easier to see the end of his contract than it is Howard's, than it is Utley's, than it is Hamels'.
Right, there's not dozens of millions of dollars left on it. There's the $13 million vesting option. The 2 teams I'd say to watch out for in all this, 2 division mates of the Phillies, the Marlins and the Nationals. Steve Cishek blew his 3rd save on Sunday. The Nationals bullpen is not what it used to be. I'd watch out for those 2 teams.
I will talk another trade candidate. That's Cole Hamels when we come back with Corey Seidman, Ryan Lawrence, and Kevin Cooney here on Phillies Nation.
Phillies Nation is presented by BQ Basement Systems, the Philadelphia region's premier basement contractor.
Our customers tell us it's important that they know who they're doing business with. Basement foundation issues are never fun, and finding a contractor that you can trust can be hard. That's why I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997. We're the experts in identifying and fixing problems in your basement, your crawl space, foundation repairs, and all things basementing. Have one of our certified inspectors out for your free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
If you're a sports fan, you need to check out Sports Vault. Our stores will surround you with a great selection of autographed memorabilia, licensed apparel, trading cards, and novelties. Want to meet your favorite local and national superstars? Sports Vault brings the legends to you with dozens of in-store appearances. Check out any of our 3 locations in King of Prussia, Exton, or Moorestown. Or visit sportsvaultshop.com and use the code PhilliesNation to save 20% on your next order of autographed merchandise.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Philly has a long sports history filled with great players and moments. Shibe Vintage Sports in Center City relives the glory years with fashionable attire for all your favorite teams. Separate yourself from the crowd with the hippest Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers gear. Pick up some unique shirts featuring local teams of yesteryear, or come to fun events where you can learn about your favorite teams. So if you're a sports fan, then you need to check out Shibe Vintage Sports. Visit them at 13th and Walnut or shibesports.com.
Welcome back. It's Phillies Nation presented by BQ Basement Systems. Pat Gallen, Corey Seibman, joined by Kevin Cooney and Ryan Lawrence. So we talked about a couple of trade candidates in the first segment with Ryan Howard, with Chase Utley, Jonathan Papelbon, but maybe the coup de grace here is Cole Hamels and what's going to happen with him here in the future. You would think the Phillies are going to move on, but it's been sort of an up and down start to his season, which we've become accustomed to with Cole Hamels. So Ryan, what's the value with him now? Is it still as high as it's ever been? Because there are a lot of teams out there that could use an ace.
I think it is. I mean, again, he's, I've been crunching the numbers lately on Cole, and any way you slice it, he's one of the top 10 pitchers in baseball in the last 5 years. He's still that guy. I know he gave up a lot of home runs early, I guess in April, but I think he's only given up maybe 1 or 2 in his last 4 starts, so that's come down. He's adjusted. Again, he is a top of the rotation guy, and there are very few of those guys, period, and even fewer that are available in the open market. And I think his contract, I don't think it's prohibitive at all. I think it's a very good contract compared to Max Scherzer, who, again, Hamels' numbers compared to in the last 5 years. I think that Ruben Amaro Jr. has reason to ask for 2 or 3 very good prospects.
And Ben Cherington right now, the Boston Red Sox general manager, is in a bind because he doesn't like giving big contracts or extended deals to guys over 30. Yeah, that's why he kind of let John Lester walk, and that was the devil he knew. But that team right now, that starting rotation is so bad that the Red Sox are the natural fit. If they're going to stay in this race, they're going to need a true ace at the top of the staff. They don't have it, and they could say Clay Buchholz, but quite honestly, they're going to fall on the sword if they think that's what's going to happen. You look at him, you look at them, you look at the Dodgers, who the Zach Greinke situation's still out there. The Cardinals, obviously, with Adam Wainwright, but obviously Michael Wacha's pitched pretty well. There's a number of teams, so the market's going to be there when they decide to move Hamels.
I think the wild card in all this is the Houston Astros, a team that's shown that they've been willing to be aggressive on the trade market this past offseason, deep farm system, and they can win that AL West legitimately. And they might be one star pitcher away from doing so, from becoming the favorite in the AL West. But with Hamels, the thing you've got to realize too is the durability. Cole Hamels has the longest streak in the National League of 30-plus starts. He has the longest streak in the National League of 190-plus innings. So you're not just acquiring a guy you think can be your number 1 or number 2 starter. You're acquiring a guy you know is going to be out there every 5th day for the next 3 or 4 years. I still think his value is sky high, and as the summer rolls around, the demand's only going to increase.
So one of the reasons why the Phillies have not dealt him yet is because Ruben Amaro hasn't gotten an offer that he wants. What should they be waiting out for? Are you looking at 3 of the top prospects from another organization, or should you tame that a little bit?
I think that varies. I mean, you talk about the top 3, prospects in Boston's organization. It's obviously not the same caliber player if you look at the top 3 in, say, the San Diego Padres. I mean, I think you need. Well, here's the first thing I think, because I know Houston's been thrown out there, and I heard someone say build around a Mark Appel. Well, the Phillies need a trade offer that's built around hitter, at least one hitter, and probably 2. They got all these pitchers this offseason in the Rollins trade and the Bird trade. And not saying that you can't have more pitchers. Pitchers are great. More pitchers the merrier is going to set you up better. But you look at this farm system, and it's very, there aren't a whole lot of position player prospects that are ready. And I think Ruben would at least like, 2 position player prospects, one that could be on the team right now, and another one that could definitely be a major league player.
And one probably needs to be a catcher, because right now their catching situation in the minor leagues, Tommy Joseph has really struggled. Carlos Ruiz, on the back end of 35. I mean, at this point, they need position players. All the trades they made in the offseason were good. They restocked the rotation in the minor leagues. That's great. They now have to take care of the field and the everyday.
I think they need hitters, period. Because you can get a catcher on the free agent market. If you just want to get the 2 best hitters you can get.
Well, I think the ideal trade would be acquiring a catcher and a corner outfielder who has some power. Because when we projected the 2017 lineup last week on the show, the Phillies, if everything breaks right, would be set in center field if Roman Quinn can pan out. You think you're going to be set in the middle infield with J.P. Crawford, maybe Freddie Galvis, if Maikel Franco can develop. But the glaring lack of depth on this organization is in the outfield, in the corners with power, and as Kevin mentioned, with the catcher. So that would be the ideal trade. There's not a whole lot of teams that match up there, and the Texas Rangers, who probably are the best fit for those two positions, I can't see them making a trade for Hamels.
All right, it's been more negative than positive this season with the Philadelphia Phillies, but let's talk some positives, some negatives. Who stands out to you as the biggest positive this year?
Well, Corey just mentioned.
Ryan,
I'm sorry, I cut
go
him
ahead.
off.
We got to let him get his.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's Freddie Galvis. I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, it's not like he's had a good 10, 12 game stretch. This is going on for 5 weeks now, hitting over 340. I mean, you look almost every night, he at least has one hit, usually 2 hits. He's also walking a little bit. He's striking out a lot less than he did his first few years in the major leagues. That kind of jumps out if you look at his stats. So to me, I mean, raise the hands of people that thought he was going to be a liability this year. Pretty much all of you guys would be raising your hands. But he's been a very, he's one of the few Phillies that you could say not only has he done his job, but he's gone over and beyond.
Is that a version of a koala paw pat, that you're giving?
Well, yeah, I've always thought that Freddie had a little bit more there, and I think not having to look over your shoulder, with Jimmy Rollins, and having everyday at bats.
Stability. I mean, going from second to third.
He's going to be in there every day.
Mine's going to be Odubel Herrera, and maybe because the bar wasn't really set that high. I mean, you're talking a Rule 5 guy, but he's been better for an infielder going to the outfield. He's been better defensively than I think anybody had the right to expect. Covers a lot of ground. Able to, his arm looks pretty decent. He has to learn how to hit a cutoff man, but everybody else in that outfield does too. I mean, to me, Herrera's been kind of a pleasant surprise as a guy that you can maybe put as a piece that somewhere fits. I don't think that you could have expected that necessarily when spring training began.
Not at all, considering the guy never played in AAA.
Right.
He looks like he belongs in the majors. You got to remember, Odubel Herrera at this time last year was just playing second base in AA for the Rangers organization. Real quick on Freddie Galvis, the two-strike approach has been one of the things that's really impressed me this year. He's been hitting .333 or higher with 2 strikes pretty much all season. My biggest positive, I'm going to go with Aaron Harang. Not because he's a young guy on the rise or anything, but because the Phillies signed him to a cheap 1-year, $5 million deal that pretty much every team in baseball is probably regretting they didn't offer that to Aaron Harang right now. And he's a piece right now, 6 out of 7 quality starts. You could probably get a pretty valuable trade commodity for him at the deadline. Not a top prospect, maybe a second-tier prospect.
Look what they got for Roberto Hernandez last year, and he didn't have anywhere near the success that Harang's had. So yeah, Harang's definitely a guy who should be able to move.
That was a solid under-the-radar move by Ruben Amaro Jr., who gets a lot of criticism, but you got to give him credit for that.
All right, quickly, Corey, you start. Biggest negative so far this year?
I'm going to go Jake Diekman, just because we entered this season thinking that the Phillies bullpen was going to be the biggest strength, and Jake Diekman obviously came on very strong last year. The strikeout rate was sky high, over 13 per 9 innings, I think. But if you look at this year, his ERA's been over 8 much of the season, putting on like 2.4 to 2.5 base runners per inning, and he's just all over the place. It's not only right-handed hitters, left-handed hitters are also walking and hitting him at an alarming clip. So I would say Jake Diekman.
Right.
I think the obvious one is Chase Utley. I mean, we can talk all we want about the luck and how, he has hit balls hard, but when you're hitting around 100, it's not just you're hitting balls hard and they're getting caught every at bat. I mean, he's striking out. He doesn't look comfortable at the plate a lot of the times. And again, this has gone on for more than 2 or 3 weeks. This has gone on for the whole season and dating back to last year too. So I think Chase Utley for sure.
Yep.
I'm going to take the manager. I think that when you look at Ryan Sandberg and the way that he's handled lineups, in-game situations, there's just been a lot that's lacking there. I mean, some of his decisions over the weekend were just scratch your head worthy. I mean, and every manager does that, but last year he had trouble with the clubhouse. So far the clubhouse has been pretty good. Changing some of the pieces there helped. But now the in-game stuff has become more glaring, and I understand. Tony La Russa wouldn't do a lot with this club. He wouldn't, get him to 500, but if you're a manager on a bad team, you can't afford to kind of compound the mistakes, and I think you've seen some of that with Sandberg so far.
Gentlemen, we appreciate it.
No problem.
Ryan Lawrence, Philadelphia Daily News, and Kevin Cooney from the Bucks County Courier Times. But don't go anywhere. The show rolls on next. It's Phillies Nation.
Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com with the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Enter promo code PHILS for free entry.
Live sports. Craft beer. Great food. Good times. What more do you need? Every day is a party at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall, the largest sports bar in Center City. Come to 11th and Filbert to see what you've been missing.
The biggest problem with your phone is not a low battery or no signal. It's about what it does to your posture. Hi, I'm Dr. Lenny Roberts from Summit Spine and Wellness. For well over a decade, we've been helping the greater Philadelphia region reach their health goals. This is the most common posture problem that I see, but you have no idea about the long-term neck and back issues you can suffer from if you don't correct your text neck. You don't have to live like this. We can correct your posture. Your initial consultation is free. Call Summit Spine and Wellness now at 215-487-2500.
Our customers tell us it's important that they know who they're doing business with. Basement foundation issues are never fun, and finding a contractor that you can trust can be hard. That's why I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997. We're the experts in identifying and fixing problems in your basement, your crawl space, foundation repairs, and all things basementing. Have one of our certified inspectors out for your free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
Philly has a long sports history filled with great players and moments. Shibe Vintage Sports in Center City relives the glory years with fashionable attire for all your favorite teams. Separate yourself from the crowd with the hippest Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers gear. Pick up some unique shirts featuring local teams of yesteryear, or come to fun events where you can learn about your favorite teams. So if you're a sports fan, then you need to check out Shibe Vintage Sports. Visit them at 13th and Walnut or shibesports.com.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation, presented by BQ Basement Systems. I'm Rachel McCauley. First up, we're going to go on the farm, presented by the Sports Vault, and take a look at how the prospects have done this week. And we'll start with J.P. Crawford. How has he done returning from injury?
Yeah, from the oblique injury, and he started off red hot. 4 games, 8 for 15, a home run, 5 runs batted in, 5 walks, and just 2 strikeouts.
Yeah.
The dude is starting off well, and he's in high A at Clearwater. He's going to tear that up. We'll be in double A, and I don't know, I don't want to go too far, but maybe triple A by some point this season?
You know what? He's going to determine where he goes, how far he goes this season. But to start his season with 4 multi-hit games, it's almost like he made up for the oblique injury in the span of a week there with, I mean, you mentioned the 5 walks. That's what impresses me most. If you look at his season last year, 65 walks and just over 70 strikeouts. So we know that his plate selection is pretty advanced at this stage of his career. Still a really young shortstop. He did commit 2 errors in his first game at short, which is, that was a little bit of a shaky sign last year. But by all accounts, he's also a strong day-to-day defender. And I mean, very clearly the brightest spot in the Phillies' future is J.P. Crawford.
Absolutely. And then Aaron Nola in Reading. He's really doing
He's
well.
been
He's pretty much J.P. Crawford's counterpart on the pitching staff. I mean, he's dominated ever since he was drafted by the Phillies. His strikeout to walk ratio is, again, it's very impressive. And Aaron Nola with an ERA in the mid-2s, I think he's another guy. You might see Aaron Nola in the middle of this summer. I don't think the Phillies are going to delay him too much, because if you put him in this rotation right now, he'd be the number 3 starter behind Hamels and Harang.
Yeah, and if they trade Cole Hamels for sure, then I think you'll definitely see him. And then Art Charles, acquired in the Michael Schwimmer trade.
Yeah, no one really knows about this guy, but he's been tearing the cover off the ball as well. Last 10 games, he got 5 home runs at Reading. He's hitting .400 through 19 games this year. And as you said, for Michael Schwimmer, he was traded back in 2013. He's a big guy, 6'6", 220 pounds. He was a 20th round pick by the Toronto Blue Jays. So not a lot known, but he's doing well.
For an organization that's devoid of power from single A to triple A, I mean, any guy with pop that emerges, you'll take that.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's break it down by the numbers, which is presented by Shibe Vintage Sports. Check out their new Spectrum shirts on shibesports.com. Corey, your first number is 30 and 31. You're picking 2 this week?
2 numbers, 30 and 31. This is courtesy of Sean Foreman, our friend from Baseball Reference. Chase Utley, through the first 30 games this season, had the lowest batting average ever for any player in a team's first 30 games. Any qualifying player in the first 30 games, Chase Utley at .099 was the lowest. And the second number, 31, the St. Louis Cardinals this past weekend. We saw them a few weeks ago in St. Louis. They just looked absolutely terrific, offensively. Took them 31 games this year before they lost their first series this past weekend to the Pirates.
Impressive stuff.
Wow. All right, Pat, your number 2,000.
2,000. Felix Hernandez gets K number 2,000 in his career. 73 pitchers all time have hit that mark, but check this out. Nolan Ryan had 5,714 in his career. It would take Felix 15 seasons of 248 strikeouts just to reach him.
Wow.
And that's
probably not happening.
That's not happening.
That's incredible, though.
Yeah, it is. Wow. And Rachel, your number this week is the number 2, pertaining to Jonathan Papelbon.
Yes, he will be the all-time save leader of 2 franchises, the Phillies and the Red Sox, and he's one of only 2 players in MLB history to do so. So that's pretty impressive. And regardless of what you think of him, you got to tip your hat to that, because that's awesome.
Yeah, rare territory. The only other guy to do it is Rob Nen, who did it with the Marlins and the Giants.
When we come back on Phillies Nation, we'll have our fantasy picks, but as we go to break, we'll take a look at your Mother's Day photos.
Behold, we are in the presence of champions. Fantasy sports legends who have earned hundreds of thousands of dollars playing online. Meet Arlie Gonzalez. Average guy, superior sports knowledge. Picked a team in minutes and won enough to throw the party of a lifetime. In outer space. Former accountant Derek Bradley. DraftKings One Day Fantasy Baseball took him from a guy with holes in his underpants to a guy with bikini models in them.
How do we turn our love of fantasy sports into reality cash?
DraftKings.com. They have one-day games, so you're not locked in. It's like a new season every time you play. And best of all, you could win a shipload of money.
Start playing today for your share of $1 billion. Use promo code PITCH and get free entry in our 100K baseball contest on opening day. More sports, more winners, more millionaires. Get to DraftKings.com now.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Our customers tell us it's important that they know who they're doing business with. Basement foundation issues are never fun, and finding a contractor that you can trust can be hard. That's why I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997. We're the experts in identifying and fixing problems in your basement, your crawl space, foundation repairs, and all things basementing. Have one of our certified inspectors out for your free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
Don't forget, Fantasy Baseball is sponsored by DraftKings. Play for free at DraftKings.com by entering promo code PHILS. All right, guys, who do you like this week? Corey, we'll start with you.
My pitcher is Jimmy Nelson of the Milwaukee Brewers. Had 11 strikeouts in 7 innings last week, has a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio this year, a very low whip. So despite the ERA over 4, he's pitched really well. He has the White Sox this week. Offensively, I have Anthony Ghost, the former Phillies prospect, who's really broken out this year, playing center field for the Detroit Tigers, leading off. He's going to score a ton of runs in that offense. He's hitting in the mid-300s, and he has some steals, too.
I'm going to go with Chase Utley, actually. I crowdsourced this one. And I want to thank Anthony G 1974 on Twitter, because I said, you know what, I haven't done well in the last few weeks with my offensive players. Why not try it? He said Chase Utley, and you know what? I think he's due. He's going to have a huge week. And then look out for Noah Syndergaard, who is the hotshot prospect of the New York Mets, another starting pitcher that they get to plug right in there. He's coming up. 34 Ks in 29 innings in a hitters league in the PCL with Las Vegas, so look out for him. And you have 2 as well. Who do you have?
Yes, I do. I'm taking Bryce Harper. He's so hot right now, you really can't go wrong with him.
True.
He's got 6 home runs in his last 4 games.
No matter what the price is, you got to take Bryce Harper on DraftKings
absolutely.
right now.
And then A.J. Burnett, he's got a 1.66 ERA on the season, so the former Phil, we'll see. We'll see.
Nice.
We'll have 2 starts this week, too, and he faces the Phillies, so that could be good.
True. Thank you to everyone here on this show today. Kevin Cooney, Ryan Lawrence, for Corey and Rachel. I am Pat. We'll talk to you next time right here on Phillies Nation.